I wanted to start with this. This happened a few days ago, when I was on my forced break, my forced vacation. And this is about the Nashville shooting. And, I've been kind of thinking about what I wanted to say about the whole topic. I've been kind of just taking in what a lot of other people were saying. And I think I'm ready to talk about it now. Part of me didn't want to talk about it because it's really heavy and intense. And it's a lot. And sometimes that could be a little heavy, no pun intended, on me as well. But then also I realize that that's kind of selfish because I feel like this is like an important conversation to have. This is probably the only thing that I talk about that's important. Let's be real. I'm sorry for laughing, but this is a real deal. This is a real big deal. And so let's do it. Let's talk about this.
Sadness and outrage tonight after another deadly school shooting in America, this time at a Christian school in Nashville.
The suspect, identified as a 28-year-old former student, shot and killed 3 young children and 3 adults before being killed by police. Police tonight releasing surveillance video showing the shooter blasting away at the doors of the school, then getting in through the shattered glass doors. Later, we see the shooter, rifle in hand, walking into the church office before heading back out into other parts of the school complex.
KTLA 5's Mary Beth McDade is here.
Well, I mean, I'm happy that the police responded quickly and efficiently. It sounds like this person was taken out, which is what needs to happen. They need to be dead. Not to be too intense. So this is going to be a loaded topic, but geez, I don't know what kind of headspace you were in. To be honest with you, I don't know too much. My understanding is that they're not releasing the manifesto, which I don't really know why. From my understanding, and I could just be wrong, they seem to release everybody's manifesto. So I'm not entirely sure why they're not releasing theirs. If I had to guess, I would say that this was an intentional attack from a trans person onto a religious school. And the first thing is that there's never an excuse for this kind of behavior. But I wonder, because listen, I'm not a super... Well, I grew up in an organized religious space, Roman Catholic. I don't necessarily subscribe to the institutionalization of religion or organized religion, because I've seen it used in incorrect and inappropriate ways. But I do love God. I love the concept of God. I try to keep God in my heart. I know that sounds kind of cringe, but it's something I like to look at. It helps me become a better person. And I wonder how much the media has an impact on this. It's one of those things where it doesn't take away. Once you cross this point, it doesn't matter what systemic aspect there is. Once you kill somebody, you've no excuse. But I wonder how much of our social conversations have had this negative impact. And we're going to talk about guns as well. But here's my thing. I've seen conservative content creators and progressive content creators overly focus on this, on gay people and trans people. We have bigger deals in the world, like guns, the #1 killer of children 1 through 19, a huge problem, right? We can't even enforce our own gun laws of taking guns away from domestic abusers, which would help police officers. The only good guys, the only safe bet that they're a good guy with a gun is that they're a police officer. And police officers are flawed, but still, we can't even help the good guys with guns take the guns out of the bad guys with guns' hands. And those are bigger issues, but for some reason, and it's a lot of conservatives are obsessed with LGBTQ people. And I get it. You're uncomfortable, and religion says that's a bad thing, but this isn't a religious issue. LGBTQ people, separation of church and state, and I understand that people are venting their frustrations, but I haven't heard anything from conservatives outside of gay people and trans people. And I wonder when Republicans themselves, not the Republican or conservative content creators, not Republican or conservative, government officials, when Republicans themselves are going to stand up and say, like, what the fuck is happening? Why are we only talking about gay people? There's a school around me where I believe the principal just decided to leave the school because they weren't being gay inclusive, because there was a fucking gay flag up in the hallway or something, and they told them to take it down. For some reason, we're so obsessed with this shit. But like, what else are Republicans doing for you? Not that Democrats are much better, but the bar is on the fucking floor, what about the real issues? Healthcare is still a problem. Even if you're a conservative, it's still a problem. I think the welfare system is flawed. It needs to be reformed in some capacity. The rich not paying enough taxes. These aren't progressive problems. These are all of our problems. And Republicans are just not coming to the table and instead are just fear-mongering over gay shit, LGBTQ shit constantly. That's all I hear over and over again. I don't hear any policy other than like, what can we do to restrict the freedom of speech of some fucking gay guy in a dress? And like, I get it. Sexualized drag shows, kids shouldn't be going there. But like, I don't care about some fucking gay dude that's basically on par with being a fucking clown reading to kids. Who cares? And I don't mean that disrespectfully. But like, is this really your priority? Banning what it comes down to, the freedom of speech of a gay guy in a dress where their parents consensually take their kid there? That's more important than people getting shot to death in schools? You'd think that at the very least, like I said before, you'd want to get the guns out of the hands of domestic abusers. Make it harder to get guns. Why don't we have a gun license? Why? Like, we should get a gun license. You know, I understand that it says shall not be infringed in the fucking, you know, the Second Amendment, but it also says well regulated. And hot take, none of our rights are supposed to be infringed. Okay, just because it says that specifically in there doesn't mean we can't look at it. But well regulated. We're at a, like, I want us to have guns as a society. I think it gives us the ability to stand up against a tyrannical government if it ever came to that. But fuck. These kids have, I mean, I'm reading it here. And they were in possession of an AR-15 rifle. Right? AR-15 military rifle and a bunch of other pistols. And I'm not I'm not a big gun guy. I'm not going to lie. And I know every time we say AR, it's like, oh, I bet you think that stands for assault rifle. Well, you know what I think it stands for? 3 dead children and 3 dead teachers. Who gives a fuck about the semantics of an assault rifle? Who cares what an AR means? Who cares? It's just like, can we get to something that matters? And the anti-LGBTQ shit is obviously riling up somebody that has, look at it, it looks like they have care for an emotional disorder. They have a mental issue. And I'm not even tying that to them being trans. There's clearly some, if you have the ability to pick up a gun and shoot people to death, there's a fucking problem. And absolutely, I've seen conservatives say, well, we need to focus on mental health. Sure. We do. But if there's a guy in my house and he's got a mental issue and he has a knife, the first thing I'm going to do is disarm him from I'm going to take the knife away before I deal with his mental health problem. And that's what we need to do. We shouldn't take guns away, but holy fuck. I mean, I imagine that at least some of these shootings would stop if we just had better conversations about how to monitor guns. No? Taking away these like really high capacity, very powerful firearms would help. Having better background checks would help. Red flag laws, the ability to enforce them would help. Having some kind of gun license. When we implemented driver's licenses, drastically less people died. It's not a hot take. Other countries have them completely banned, which I don't believe in, but their countries are doing fine. They still have knife violence, and this, yeah, you're right, but overall they have less violence. And you know what? A lot of people will be like, well, you know, Papa God, New York has a lot of gun death, and they made guns illegal. They have a lot of gun violence. Oh, look at that. You know that like 3/4 of the gun violence in New York, like of gun crime in New York, comes from guns that weren't obtained in New York, right? Like, you're like, oh, I can't get a gun in New York. What do? You just go to the next state. Like, you have to understand that it all ties in together. You know, I'm just saying, it's time for us to just talk about something other than fucking gay people. And then, frankly, you know, you have some more progressive content creators who are talking about how this is like a fucking trans genocide that we're experiencing. We're riling people up. I don't think that things now are any worse than they've ever been. They're probably a little bit better. There are definitely problems, especially with wealth inequality. But fuck, I think the biggest problem is that it's always in our face. You want to know why we have a more mentally, like, we'll say, unbalanced society nowadays? Social media. Social media. People are constantly on their computers. There's so much information hitting you every day. You're seeing the worst of the world every single day. To the point where you're like, you don't do anything without anxiety. And I think we've all been there. I'm not going to lie. Me too. I've been there. Sometimes you're like, damn, everything's fucked. You know, when I was in Pennsylvania with my wife, there was, I think, a factory fire where people died. And we were supposed to visit some other factory. And I was like, I just don't want to go. Right? That's not really logical because nothing would happen there. But nothing did happen. We didn't go. But like, we're having so much negative information blasted into our heads every single day, every day, over and over and over and over and over. And it makes you think that the world is coming to a fucking end. And there's no such thing as discourse anymore. You know? So there's just, I feel like the conversation, whether you agree with me about the specifics of what I'm saying about guns, I think it's time for people to come to the table with these conversations in decent, constructive ways about chilling the fuck out, not fear-mongering, getting our shit together when it comes to regulating guns, getting guns out of the hands of domestic abusers. And I don't think this person was a domestic abuser, but it will definitely protect, especially a lot of women and children in their own homes. Just come to the table. If you're a conservative and you don't like an idea progressive pushes, come up with your own fucking idea, right? Like, we're talking about student loan debt. Oh, you know, we go, you know, what does everybody want to do? He just wants to, like, erase it. Okay, I get that. But does that solve the fucking problem of school being too expensive? No, probably not. Does that solve the problem of us forcing and pushing all of our kids into school, into college, even if that's not right for them? No. If it was me, I'd do something like a 10 for 10 program, where I would be like, you pay 10% of your wages for 10 years, and then you're absolved of debt, whether you pay it off or not. And then I would get school costs down. And the way you do that is you regulate government subsidies in schools. Schools charge whatever they want, and then the government will still fucking subsidize it. So instead, say you can charge what you want, but if you don't keep, especially administrative costs, that's where most of the increases go. If you don't get your administrative costs in line, we're not going to give you money. Boom, they're going to lower their costs. They're going to get their shit together. Let's worry about, like, why does a TI-83 calculator cost $150 when it's literally just a feature on your iPhone at this point that should cost you $3? The plastic isn't $150. Why do you need a new pair of books every year that just jumbles around a couple of chapters? I know I'm going off on a little bit of tangent, but, you know, so I'm saying implement a 10 for 10 and then deal with the problem at the core. This is what I'm saying. That if you're going to stop, it's frustrating when conservatives just say no to everything and they don't come up with their own fucking plan. That's all I'm saying. And this is where we're at. And I'm sorry for ranting, but we have so many real problems in the world. And to sit here and fearmonger about LGBTQ people, and to be frank, to be absolutely real here, okay? The conversation about, oh, trans men aren't real men, trans women aren't real women, you know, not for nothing. But when you have conservative content creators like Ben Shapiro, whose only time they commentate on Andrew Tate is when Andrew Tate says they might fuck a trans woman, rather than doing commentary on the fact that Andrew Tate openly admitted to sex trafficking women in his own words. When Ben talks about just the trans part of it and doesn't care about the rest, who are you to even weigh in on what a real man or a woman is? If you can't stand up against worthless piece of shit men who admit to sex trafficking through their own words, then how can you stand up to trans people? Who the fuck are you to say what a real man is if you can't even call out fucking pathetic men? Because Andrew Tate's not a man. You sex traffic women, you abuse women, you get them to fall in love with you, and then you manipulate them, you steal money from them, you make it so that they can't leave unless they're so fucking enthralled in love with you that you know they'll come back. It's abusive. That's not a real man. And then you're going to sit here and you're going to cry about fucking trans men? I feel like let's solve the problem of our fucking morally dysfunctional society, and gay people aren't part of it. It's when conservative men who pretend to care about what a real man and a real woman is don't give a fuck when they see bad behavior from real men or from people like Andrew Tate. And it's just a fact. It's just where we are. And you'll be like, well, they do call that stuff out. They vaguely call it out. And they explicitly will go after trans people over and over again. I'm tired of, who cares? Listen, first, who cares if Dylan Mulvaney's a woman? But if you don't think so, who cares? Is that really the number one thing that's on your fucking mind? Is that what you want to see every day from fucking Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh? Well, Dylan Mulvaney is a cringe fucking theater nerd again and did something cringy. Wow, that's priority news for you? You know what I'm saying? Everything's just all over the fucking place. So, sorry, let's continue this video.
Here in studio with new details and that video. MB. Sharon Micah, as the city of Nashville comes together tonight to remember the 6 victims, police released video of the gunman inside the school searching for victims. The deadly attack lasted 14 minutes before police killed the shooter.
That's terrible.
Police just released dramatic video of 28-year-old Audrey Hale shooting out a door at the Covenant School in Nashville and then entering the private Christian elementary school where police say Hale killed 3 students ages 8 and 9. One was the church pastor's daughter, and 3 adults, a custodian, a substitute teacher, and the school's headmistress, 60-year-old Catherine Kuntz.
Thoughts and prayers go out to the family.
Nashville police say Hale, who identified as transgender, arrived in a Honda Fit around 10:15, entered the grade school armed with 2 semi-automatic rifles and a handgun. They say Hale made it from the first floor to the second floor, firing multiple times.
It was the first about 8 or 10 shots were very loud. I don't know what, very loud. And then there was some after that, like almost it was a different gun that weren't as loud.
Young students were seen holding hands, escaping from the school.
I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building.
Police say as officers arrived, Hale shot at them from a second-floor window, but police didn't hesitate and entered the school.
Officers.
Well, at least they did that right. Instead of the last shooting where kids probably more died than needed to. None should be dying, but what happened in Texas? I mean, at least the police officers did the right thing and actually put their lives on the line. Because that's your job. No offense. I respect police. There's obviously issues in the police system, but I respect police. But you signed up to die. The kids didn't sign up to die. The teachers didn't sign up to die. You're getting paid to die over a teacher or a student. And I don't say that lightly, like, ha, 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 ha. Like I want it to happen. I don't. But like that's the risk that you take when you sign up for that job. And like you should be acting like it. You have training to deal with these crisis situations. And I respect the police for doing their job. I do. I appreciate that. You know, you should be ready for these scenarios. And you know what? If somebody's sitting here like, I think we should put armed security guards in schools. Maybe. I don't know, bro. We just need to do something. We need to figure out something. We need to just start talking about it. Because that's the problem. The only people who are talking about it are fucking progressives. Conservatives aren't really talking about it. At least not mainstream ones. Like, let's go to the table with, like, a real idea. Like, have a real conversation instead of these bullshit fucking political jerk-off sessions. You know, you have some fucking Chinese guy come in talking about TikTok the other day because this could be a threat to national security. Is this not? Like, children dying? Are our own children getting murdered? Is that not like a threat to some kind of security? Right? People can't even feel safe sending their children to school. That's a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed. We need to stop jerking around. If you have time to sit down with some fucking idiot from TikTok, you have time to sit down with somebody from across the aisle to figure out what the fuck you're going to do. Jesus Christ.
Entered the first story of the school, began clearing it. They heard shots coming from the second level. They immediately went to the gunfire.
Officers found the shooter on the second floor, engaged in gunfire, and fatally shot Hale. Police tell us these are the 2 officers that ran toward the gunfire and killed the shooter.
Good. God bless him.
They say the shooter, a former student.
Oh, he's from Singapore? Well, dude, TikTok is a Chinese company. I'm sorry that he's from Singapore. Okay, my bad. I don't mean to be some kind of phobic. I just meant I figured it was a Chinese guy since TikTok is based in China. So my bad, okay?
Had maps of the school and had surveilled entry points.
We have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this is all going to take place.
Monday night, many teary-eyed residents came together to pray for the victims and their families.
I have 4 grandkids here, and I mean, I can be thankful, but I am so sad for these parents and kids.
The Nashville police chief says that Hale had planned out an attack on another school, but decided not to attack there after believing that there was just too much security. That's going to do it for me here in studio. Mary Beth McDade, Cher, send it back over to you.
Wow. Yeah, man, it's just sad. And I just wonder how many kids need to die before we start having real serious conversations about this.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.